Jayden Daniels has more passing touchdowns than Georgia's Stetson Bennett, Ole Miss's Jackson Dart, and Auburn's Robbie Ashford. And then look at the completion percentage. Jayden Daniels has a higher completion percentage than Alabama's Bryce Young, Ole Miss's Jackson Dart. You got Anthony Richardson from Florida, and Robbie Ashford from Auburn. Welcome to the Verdin Verdict, where we bring you sports talk on the go. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin, and today we're going to dive into a couple of your concerns for LSU football. I've seen it myself. I've worried about it. LSU's passing game is definitely something that we need to work on. Wide receivers need to produce. Jayden Daniels needs to sit in the pocket a little more, but at the same time, the offensive line needs to create that pocket and secure that pocket and make sure that he feels calm, cool, and collected so he can confidently pass out of it. The key takeaways that I've gotten throughout this week is Brian Kelly said in his press conference earlier on, Jayden Daniels just has to be more aggressive, point blank. He needs to throw deeper throws, get the balls in tighter windows, and he needs to be able to create in the air just as much as he can on the ground. Jayden Daniels is gifted, and he leads LSU in rushing, of course. I spoke to him a little bit about that, and of course, he enjoys being able to have the freedom to get in and out of the pocket, and he says that the coaches, of course, want him to run. They're never going to say, we don't want you to run, and that they value that side of his game because it helps him get out of tough situations and tight spots. Offensive line, though, like I said, they need to step up. Yeah, we've had a little question mark around them because we've had several different units come out throughout this point of the season. It's the early points. We're figuring out everything. New scheme, new teams. We got a couple of true freshmen out there, so we had to get their stripes on their shoulders. But Will Campbell and Embry Jones have been doing pretty good. I've been pretty impressed by them, and I think that going forward, if this LSU offensive line can gain cohesiveness and just overall be more together and hold a little bit more composure and communicate a little bit clearer, I think that LSU will be able to steer this ship. Jayden Daniels only needs a couple more seconds. Jayden Daniels acknowledges the fact that on a couple of throws against Auburn, they needed to be a little bit more in front and they needed to be a little bit more accurate. And he's stepping up to the plate and admitting where he's wrong, admitting where he needs to improve. And I like that about him. I like the fact that he can go out and selflessly say he could have done something better to help the team, to improve the situation, to improve the game, to improve the offensive outlook, but the fact that he's realizing it is step one in fixing the problem. We don't want sacks, of course, so I enjoy the fact that he can get out of the pocket at a moment's notice. However, at the same time, I don't want him to get hurt, and he's already had a couple of trips to the injury tent this season. He had a knee injury, a back injury. I mean, there's been several moments that I've held my breath when I've seen Jayden Daniels take a hit. You don't want to see anybody get taken off the field due to unfortunate circumstances like that. So you really want to protect your guys, but you also don't want him to play conservative because then he's not going to be his true self. He's not going to be confident, and he won't be able to play that Jayden Daniels football. So, really, it's about finding a balance between them. You got to have some production from the wide receivers. You got to have them get open. And then when the ability to pass presents itself, they need to capitalize. They need to catch the balls. And quite frankly, everyone just needs to kind of clear their mind, get rid of any slump or any, negative, cloudy mindset you got going on, and just get back to LSU football. We're on a 4-game win streak, entering the top 25 AP poll. Things are looking good. You saw Kayshon Boutte after the Auburn game credit the defense, saying how the defense does well. Jayden Daniels even says that the defense is helping them out as they're struggling during these times. They're trying to take accountability and give respect to the side of the ball who's stepping up to the plate and performing well. They shut out Auburn in the second half. Great performance, even with starting freshmen like Harold Perkins, and even with injuries such as Mason Smith and Major Burns, and even, unfortunately, Sevyn Banks on that opening kickoff, who, we've heard from Micah Bakersville and Brian Kelly that he's fine. He's got some spinal bruising, but he's in good spirits, and he's recovering well, which is good news. We're going to talk a little bit more about the statistics. When you dive into it, LSU's passing game, at least it isn't bottom of the barrel in the SEC. It could be a lot worse. LSU right now averages, of course, 35 points per game, 443 yards total. 196 of those yards are rushing yards, and 247 of those yards are passing yards. And Jayden Daniels in the SEC rankings is 10th in passing yards, 6th in completions, 5th in completion percentage, and 6th in passing touchdowns. Jayden Daniels in the top 10 in all major stats. But if you go ahead and dive a little deeper into it and you look at passing touchdowns and you put magnifying glass up to it, Jayden Daniels has more passing touchdowns than Georgia's Stetson Bennett, Ole Miss's Jackson Dart, and Auburn's Robbie Ashford. And then look at the completion percentage. Jayden Daniels has a higher completion percentage than Alabama's Bryce Young, Ole Miss's Jackson Dart. You got Anthony Richardson from Florida and Robbie Ashford from Auburn. Jayden Daniels has more completions than Hendon Hooker from Tennessee, who's coming to Tiger Stadium this Saturday, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, Robbie Ashford from Auburn, and Anthony Richardson from Florida. So those are elite-level quarterbacks in the SEC game that Jayden Daniels is, beating out in those areas. So while we do need to improve and while we do have the best wide receiver out of all of those guys, and while we do need to utilize those tools, and like Jayden Daniels said, get them in the game and let them do what we brought them here to do. I think, we're not at rock bottom. I don't think we need to hit the panic button right here. Yeah, 80 passing yards is rough, but in the grand scheme of things, we got the W. We're undefeated in SEC play. It could be a whole lot worse. I think that Jayden Daniels is getting an extreme amount of scrutiny for no reason. He's a great quarterback, a great guy. He's making it happen, I think. I think LSU's in a pretty good situation, and his decision-making has improved vastly. His accuracy has improved vastly. I think we just give him a little more time, a little more chemistry, and they build a little more relationship with Kayshon and continue with Malik and with Jure and even Jack Best. We got a lot of guys who can get active. It's just going to have to come together. I think that Jayden is, he's putting himself in situations to learn a lot. I saw him at the Manning Passing Academy with Peyton Manning getting some valuable advice. He talked about it a little bit with me where he highlighted the pregame preparation aspect and how the Mannings just have, great attention to detail. And if he's seeing this right in front of him and getting advice from these guys in the off seasons, he's going to pick up on the fine parts of things. He's kind of stepping up, in my opinion, already with holding a players-only meeting. I think that shows initiative. He's not just sitting down and saying, well, we got the win. We can go ahead and string together another one. No, he wants to change it. He knows he can get better. There's room to improve, a lot of room to improve. Malik Neighbors talked to us about, being his guy and stepping into his role of the surefire target as he leads the team in receptions. Malik Neighbors has impressed me, Week 1 was a rough performance, and he scratched that, threw it in the garbage, restarted, and made up for it, and then some. Malik Neighbors has been very, very, very impressive. All in all, though, really would like to see Jayden Daniels get a little more aggressive in that passing game, but it's going to have to come with the offensive line getting a little more together and creating a little more protection for JD5. And, he wants to get the guys chances. He wants to get Kayshon active. He wants to get Malik active. He wants to get all his guys the touches. He's hitting Mason Taylor a lot, and he talked about that a little more in depth, just saying how, it's his check down, and the coaches do a good job of getting them open. Mason does a good job of getting open, and he kind of just credited that for the abundance of targets to the freshman, and I guess it's just circumstances as to why he's dropping them. It's unfortunate. Hopefully, we're going to be able to learn from it and move on. Saturday we saw LSU's 46th consecutive game with a touchdown pass streak end. LSU had passes in touchdown games for the past 46 games, and Saturday against Auburn we saw that go to an end. But we got the running game that's shaping up. So when one door closes, another one opens. So hopefully we can find a way to get that one back open, that passing game. I think Jayden Daniels is heading on the right track. After speaking with him, I got a lot more confidence in the fact that we'll be able to turn this thing around here pretty soon. LSU's next stretch of games is going to get tough. You got Tennessee, you got Florida. Ole Miss is coming up. Alabama's coming up. Thank God you got a bye week in between Ole Miss and Alabama. But at the same time, this is where the going gets tough. This is where the SEC gets tested. And this is where we'll really see what LSU's made of, what LSU football can do when adversity hits. Brian Kelly seems to be in a good headspace, seems to be putting together some good things. Hopefully Jayden Daniels can, continue to create in the way he has and hopefully add a little more creativity towards his passing game. You know, I believe he has the capabilities to do it, and I know that the coaches are going to be able to put him in a situation. Make sure to tune into our pregame show. It'll be live on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you never miss another live stream. We'll be going live before every LSU game, just giving you some insight, giving you some predictions, and just overall news updates for what's in store later on that day. This has been the Verdin Verdict. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on our socials. Link in bio. Y'all have a good one.